Excellence in Coaching webinar series. This is going to be performed today by myself, Charles Owen. I manage the business alliances here at the company and have been a Paladin for about 8.5 years so far. And today's topic is monitoring the health of your inventory using PaladinNsight. We will be discussing what it is, how to use it, and it's going to be pretty cool. So I'm excited about this, and it's for all audiences, whether you're retail, pharmacy, hardware, lumber and building materials, doesn't really matter. This is a very important feature, and I think it's something that will help shed a light on your inventory. All right, so the goal of the webinar series is to give you information on new products, services, as well as new features in the system to make it easy for you to search through these libraries of webinars, which we now post and should be available from within the Paladin system under the Help button. All right, so I'm being assisted by Chad. Thanks, Chad, for being online. He's going to field all the questions coming in, so feel free to type questions in on the comment section, and he will be answering those. And if at the end of the seminar, we can go ahead and take everybody out of listen-only mode if you're interested in actually speaking. So at the end of the presentation, there'll be a quick survey. So if you could just answer that, it's like 3 or 4 really benign, easy, simple questions. But it really judge if we're doing a good job or not at this and continually improve at this. This presentation, as I mentioned, will be recorded. It will be available at a later date. So if you have to skip out early or for whatever reason, you'll be able to get into this. But you won't be able to see my face. In this particular webinar, I do activate my camera, so you should be able to see me at this moment. And so let's jump right into it, shall we? So looking at slide 1 here, the agenda. So what is PaladinNsight? We'll be discussing that, why it's important, where to begin, how you can achieve success, and when to start. So basically the what, why, where, how, and when of PaladinNsight. We are very excited about presenting this to you in this webinar. This information is going to be rather broad and not very detailed. However, there's so much information right now on the Paladin in the Paladin product under the features browser that pops up when you start the Paladin system, and we'll talk about that as well, because I will actually be referencing that. After I go through this brief presentation about the what, why, where, how, and when, we're going to bring up the Paladin system and spend a few minutes showing you this feature and kind of describing and explaining through example what you should be able to accomplish and achieve out of PaladinNsight. Okay? So what is it? It's a dashboard with key performance indicators, and it's going to help you manage your inventory. You're going to be able to see things like out-of-stock items, unmanaged inventory, unknown losses that you might have, and overstock items. These are the biggest challenges that we as retailers struggle with on a daily basis, particularly if you have thousands of SKUs, which most of our customers do. You know, you've got reports and things that you print out. In most other systems, you know, you're generating reports to be able to find this information out. But PaladinNsight goes a little bit beyond that, goes a lot beyond that actually. It enables you to interact with this data in real time. So rather than printing a report, going through and sorting it and you know, just figuring out what you want to do and then go back to a system and change it, you can actually interact with this information in real time, dynamically. All right, so our next slide is why is it important? Well, it's pretty obvious. I think out-of-stock items, as we know, equates to lost sales opportunities. When you don't have a product, when the customer comes into the store, if they see you're out of the product that they need, they might just turn around and walk out. They might even have a cart that's full of other items, and they say, well, geez, I got to make the 30-mile drive anyway. I might as well just leave and leave the basket there. I'm sure that doesn't happen in any of your stores. Unmanaged inventory, what's that cause? It causes chaos in the aisles. When you have chaos in the aisles, you don't have a lot of happy customers. So if the prices don't match, If the items are dusty, if they're hard to find, hard to get to, or they're on a peg with other items, it just kind of leads to chaos, and that's also a way to lose business. Unknown losses. So, you might have some unknown losses in your system. If you don't know about them, you can't unresolve them, or you can't resolve them, I should say. So you need to be able to understand and know about your unknown losses. And then last are the overstocked items. Why is it important to know about your overstock items? Well, it's because those are unusable assets. That's money that you just have sitting on the shelf. And our goal is to help you, in Paladin always, is to help you run your store better, cleaner, tighter, and manage your overstock as well as reduce your outs. That's kind of the MO for Paladin. That's the reason why our system exists today in your stores, hopefully. All right. Where to begin? Well, viewing this webinar is a great place to start. Also, at any time you can read the release notes in the features window in Paladin. Search for the word PaladinNsight, that's 2 N's together, and you will have a number of different articles that we have got some extensive write-ups on. Dan and the technical writers have been busy at night and during the day writing these documents, so you would have a reference to a reference guide to go to be able to learn how to do this. You can review this in your inventory module at any time, and it's on everybody's terminals at this moment. Now, there's a way to deactivate this if you wish not to see this, or you can determine who might have access to this. All right, so that's where you begin. And how do you achieve success through this? Well, you can only achieve success if you use the tools that are presented to you. And my recommendation would be to monitor the PaladinNsight on a regular basis. Use it, interact with it, correct the issues, and eventually you will be able to realize results, and the green will arise. There's a couple of different areas where you will see tremendous benefits. One is you'll have less outs. The other is you'll have less overstock. The other is you'll be able to manage your aisles better and keep control over those unknown losses. So when I say, realize green, I mean green literally or figuratively and literally. Okay? So what's the next one? When do we start? Well, you can start today. It's risk-free. Anybody with version 9308 and later has access to the Paladin Insight tools and meters, and they're right there for you to look at and start managing today. So I would recommend that you go in and begin that process today. So let's go ahead and bring up Paladin. Go into these dials that I just showed you, the dashboards, if you will, in PaladinNsight. So in Paladin, as I mentioned, the new features list has a search tool right here. So you just type PaladinNsight, hit enter, and if you type it correctly, which I didn't, PaladinNsight, you're going to see a list of all of these options or material and write-ups available to you. So the first one is monitor the health of your inventory using the new PaladinNsight Dashboard. And if you just click on that one, you can see this is just informing you of this webinar that you're watching right now. The next one, boost your business with PaladinNsight, new features, and it goes through and describes what each one of these things are. Right? Talks about your lost opportunities, investment reviews, loss experience, and non-performing assets. And beyond that, it goes into a full description of what this is. Right? So your first one is the misfortune of out-of-stock items. Right? You need to manage your out-of-stock. Next, you need to watch your investment. Next, you need to catch those items that are slipping away through those unknown losses that I've mentioned, and then also some of the burdens of having too much stock. So this information just describes what it is. Go beyond that, and you can go into the specific features itself. So here's the loss experience tool. Below that is the investment review tool, the lost opportunity tools. So it goes through in pretty extensive write-up with information, diagrams, kind of showing you and describing to you what each of these things are, which we're going to go into right now in the system. But I just wanted to inform you that this information is out there. So once you watch this webinar, you can go, geez, that just wasn't quite enough information. We've got all kinds of information and write-ups on this so you can better understand this tool. So let's go into the inventory program. So I just brought up inventory screen. I can see the list of the the dashboard and all the different meters on this dashboard, or key performance indicators, KPIs as they're known and referred to. As I mentioned, the first one is lost opportunity. You can see where my meter's at. It's a little bit in the green, but not too much in the green, which it should be more in the green. Investment review, loss experience, and non-performing assets. So let's go into each one of these. Now you'll notice below each one there is a little magnifying glass. If I click on that magnifying glass, it takes me right into that particular item, showing me and demonstrating, showing me all these items and giving me different sort capabilities, different suppliers I can look at, and all the other types of criteria that's important to look at. The neat thing about this is, as I mentioned, it's interactive. So now I went into my outs, if you will, my lost opportunities, and down at the bottom in the right-hand side, I can see out of stock. I have 5% out of stock, about 879 items. A week loss is translated to 7,000 and a profit of about 2,100. Now this, to me, is just the tip of the iceberg, because if somebody comes into your store and they walk out because you're out of something, they may take their list of 17 or 20 items and take it out of the store and just leave without buying anything. That is a risk that we all are subjected to. All right, and then up above, you can see we start with location, department, part number, description, across the top here. These are sortable by any one of these columns. So I can sort by description, for example. I can sort by location. The -1, of course, means I don't have location codes assigned to those items. But if I sort by location codes, I can see that as well. Next, I can also search by how many have sold in the last year. So 52-week sales is what this first column is. And I can see I've sold quite a bit of these items here. The next one is weeks out of stock. I can sort by that. Now I'll want to look at what's been out of stock the longest. And this is where you can really interact with the system and make changes that affect these numbers down at the bottom. And that is, for example, you can look and review some of these items and go, oh, geez, this was a one-time special order. We'll never have that in the store again. Or next, you can say this was discontinued item. This item, we just don't carry it anymore. So you can go through and put this little checkbox where it says delete in the bottom left-hand side, hit delete, and it removes those items and takes them out of that calculation. Now, as you know, deleting items doesn't actually remove them from Paladin. We maintain all sales history, invoice history, and inventory history. So we don't actually delete it. We just set it off to the side as a deleted status. So you can recall these items if you need to, and the sales history is always maintained in the system. Okay, also other columns that you can sort by are lost revenue and lost profit. So it might be important for you to see your lost revenue and lost profit based on the highest dollar amount or the highest profit amount, either revenue or profit, and you can do that as well. All right, so let's move on to review. Now, I don't have to bump back out to this screen. As you saw where I was at, there were tabs going across the top of the screen. I could have just clicked on that, but I wanted to show you where I'm going next. So the next one I want to show you is to the far right. It's the non-performing assets. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on non-performing assets. Now, it looks like I've got a significant amount of non-performing assets in my store. Well, what is a non-performing asset? Well, obviously, it's something that's not turning, or it hasn't turned lately. And you can determine the number of days you want to look outside of to judge what is overstock and what is just standard stock that's in my store. And you can also sort this by supplier. You can look at it by location or department codes, as well as the overage quantity versus the dollar amount. in wastage. All right. So all that's available from this screen. So if I look on the top, non-performing assets investment, I can order again by location or by department. I can also do it by overage, which shows this number in this column over here, or I can look at the dollar waste. Beyond that, to the right, we have limit to suppliers, so you can limit it to a particular supplier, and also set the number of stock days. So you can push it out a little bit further to reduce some of those items that may not necessarily be overstocked. They may just be the way that you like to stock it. If you like deeper stock for a particular supplier because you don't get a truck but every month, that's understandable. You can just make those changes up above. But once you look at these items and you sort it by either waste or by overage amount, you can look at your biggest perpetrators here, and you can go down and say, I want to see my treated lumber in Department 37. You just need to click on that item and it brings up, or click on that particular department or location, and it brings up all the items in that particular department or location. These are the items, and now, as before, we can sort by my overage. So I want to see the highest overage amounts I have here. So it says here, my PT spindle, I've got 280 over. I have stock on hand of 423, a waste of about $233. So this just gives you a bird's eye view, a quick view to look and see this information. Now beyond this, if I wanted to do a little bit more number crunching or provide a report to one of my staff members or something like that, on the bottom right-hand corner we have this Excel report. You click that, just generates an Excel report, pops up the report at the bottom, and enables me to see that report. So here's the Excel report that I just generated. Pretty cool. All right. So going back to my main screen, I'm going to now, so we've covered lost opportunities, which are outs. We've also covered non-performing assets, which is overstock. And those two areas are the biggest challenges that most retailers with a lot of SKUs deal with on a weekly basis. And our goal is to try to make this an easier job for you, streamline your operations, and help you make more money, retaining the money as opposed to putting it on the shelf where it becomes unusable assets. In the case of lost revenue through lost opportunities or outs, we want to make sure that we bump those numbers up so that we don't run out as often. And the only way to accomplish that is through Paladin's pattern recognition technology that looks at the sales history. It looks at what's selling and what's not selling, and it makes a determination. All right. The two center dials, what we have, or meters, we have the investment review. Now, if I go into investment review, this tells me the last time I reviewed these items or didn't review these items, more than likely. So you can set the review date where it says what items haven't been reviewed for 180 days, for 6 months. You can shrink that number up or push it out to a year, and obviously that's going to affect your results. Again, any one of these column headers can be sorted just by clicking out. So I can see what my more favorable items that I've been reviewing versus those items that I haven't been good at reviewing. Now, what's nice about this is, and let's talk about reviewing. We've got a couple of minutes here to talk about why we want to review. Notice in the top of the system it says, if you don't review your investment, who will? Well, and that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about what we refer them as best practices by doing cycle counts. But really it isn't about the counting. That's just a byproduct of what happens when you're out in the aisles. What you want to do is you want to get your staff and or your managers out in the aisles to review the stock. This is your investment, your largest investment you have, more than likely, next to real estate. And this is something you want to manage and monitor. So you're looking for items that are missing. You're looking to make sure that the price matches, it's dusted off, and looks presentable, it's well lit, it's organized. I mean, this is the kind of thing that you want to do. You want to check your aisles for this on a regular basis. So we want you to do this kind of habitually at the end of every day where the cashier, before they leave, they count a 4-foot section or 15 or 20 minutes worth of reviewing their stock. And they're looking for all these other things. And at the same time, with the RF gun, the radio frequency terminal, they can scan the item and put a count in, which tracks the next dial that we'll be looking at, or the next meter, which looks at shrinkage. All right, so if you wanted to provide a list to your cashier, say, you know what, we really haven't checked the pulley rolls lately, let's go ahead, you just click on that, pulls all those items up, and then again, the bottom right-hand corner, you can push this out to an Excel report, give that report to your cashier or whoever is going to be doing accounting or the reviewing, and they can just take that list and go through the items one by one. Okay, the last meter that we'll be looking at, this dial here, loss experience, that looks at our shrinkage, right? So when we do the reviewing, we're also doing accounting kind of at the same time, killing two birds with one stone. During that counting, it's going to either take away items that are missing because of theft or misplaced or whatever reason, internal, external, what have you. And it's going to identify those issues and enable you to help figure out a way to prohibit this from happening in the future. And you might want to move it up to the front counter, or you might want to put it behind a lock and key, you know, depending on the dollar amount. But again, you can just sort by the condition. You can sort by the loss and gain over 30 days, and then loss and gain over the last 180 days. And again, up in the top, you can also change your within the last number of days. And you can also determine it by a supplier, as well as change it from location to a department, and also look at not only number of items, but loss, the dollar loss. Okay, that's about the amount of depth I'm going to go into today. Again, when you bring this up and you start looking at this, it's going to just become more clear and more clear and more clear as you do this. I think you should start immediately. One place to start is you probably didn't get as much information as you needed from this webinar, and if you felt like you didn't, then you've got more information to tap into on this feature browser that we show when you bring in the Paladin system, and you get all this information and drill down and see the documentation. So if we have any questions, we can, Chad, how are we doing on questions? Do we need to open this up? Somebody raise their hand if they want me to unmute you so you can ask a question. I'll look for those raised hands. We have a number of customers that are attending. I don't see any questions here.
And no questions at this time.
Okay, great. Well, I hope this was informative to you. Let me close out here. Again, the survey is at the end of this. Please put in, just to take a couple of seconds to do that. Next webinar is next Tuesday at 9 Pacific time as well, and it's on how to handle holiday shopping in Paladin, just in time for the shopping season. So I don't know if you've all seen it, but we do have a new gift receipt that you can print that has no pricing information, and that's at the very end of the transaction. You'll have a number 7, I think it is, where you can press gift receipt and generate a gift receipt if they want to do gift shopping in your store. And thank you everybody again for your participation. I really appreciate it, and I hope you tune in next time. Take care.